Hello, this is D-Boy here from West Coast Uncensored coming at you. Man, um, talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball. Oh God, what a heartbreak for if you're a Los Angeles Dodger fan. Man, 106 weeks of season, 106 wins, setting a franchise record, which is a long franchise. Goes back. I mean, this is a historical franchise that was in New York, Brooklyn to be specific, moves to Los Angeles in the late 50s, wins 5 World Series in probably the first 20 years, 25 years here, and has not won one in now 32, will be 33 years going on. And guess what? After all this, setting this standard of a regular season, bow out in the first round excuse me, to a wild card. Los Angeles is devastated. The Dodger fans don't know what to do. The Dodger fans want Robert gone. Clayton Kershaw admits that he doesn't produce in the playoffs. Humbly, like not many athletes would do. They would want to storm out angry, upset, and the man takes it. Disheartening, in fact, to watch him. I've even watched non-Dodger fans who have talked to me talk about the fact that they felt sorry for Kershaw last year, watching the failures of the Dodgers, and they weren't Dodger fans, saying they wanted to see Clayton because they understood, they were baseball people, understood that Clayton had produced records. I mean, Clayton's masterful regular season was historic in the fact that the records he had broke and set, nobody had did since the early 1900s. That's how great and established his records had been, and this is all true. But the man who had did all this and had produced that, and it goes down as a Dodger great, on the heels of even touching what the great Sandy Koufax did, is nowhere near Sandy's postseason records and the things that Sandy did in the playoffs, and probably not the playoffs at that time, but in the World Series. So when we look at this, we could feel sorry for Clayton, but he himself said something that he does not produce, and everything that is said about him and the criticism of the media and the criticism of the fan in the playoffs is true, and so true. And I'm like, man, this hurts, but yet the reality is there's so much that you could blame on this. You could blame the young guns, the great hitters that the Dodgers have, and the young studs that they have. Seager and Bellinger lead off for me, and when I think about this, neither one of them have really produced and had outstanding series. Both hit them under the Mendoza line, and I'm thinking, oh man, you guys hit under the Mendoza line, had opportunities to break the Nats and break the Nats spirit in situations that they did in the regular season by blowing teams out with big innings, and then swiffing and missing and striking out in key situations where you could have put the Nats under in probably three games to 4 games, and not producing what you needed. So Kershaw, yes. Dave Manager's managing to me in those last few innings of that Game 5 were not something that you could justify. He did not make good choices. He managed out of something we see lack of it, some of us would say a lack of, and that would be the fact that nobody manages really from their gut and their instincts anymore. It's all done through the analytics, and let's not be phony with ourselves. The Dodgers are heavily bounded in analytics, which is what the wave is and what it is. It's just what it is. Pretty much it's carried over to all sports. But here's the reality of that. If you don't use it in the regular season, you decide to go in your gut feeling in the Game 5 of the divisional playoffs, and you're not used to using those instincts anymore, and then you don't do the things that you need to do that are costly. Giving up the Kershaw, you could have brought in Kolarek, who had dominated, Soto so well. I mean, he had shut him down every time, actually struck him out 2/3 of the times he faced him. You could have brought him in to face that. Rendon, I'll admit, hit a very good pitch. It was low in the strike zone, just very outstanding hitting by a very outstanding hitter named Rendon. But the very next pitch, 2 back-to-back pitches, the game was tied. You were still even, but I felt the stadium's life was sucked out. The Dodgers' spirit had left. They had thought, and they were marching to a World Series, and they really had thought it was about getting to the World Series, and anything less than a World Series was a failure, and that's true. That is true. Don't fake yourself out, Dodger fans. Well, fans, this team had lost 2 straight World Series. Anything less would be a failure. Nobody wanted to settle for anything less. It was not to settle for anything less. It was to produce on the fields. And the producing on the field in the clutch situations, on the mound, from managing and at the plate all failed. The Dodgers start over. Don't get me wrong, the Dodgers are not over the hill gang. They're a very young team. They got some veterans on the team, but that's a very young team with a crop of 5, 6, 7 other young players who are ready to come up and set their heels and put their cleats on and play, and are very good draft picks. The Dodger organization of developing players is very, in their draft the last decade is just off the charts. They got players coming. They won 7 straight titles. They got enough good to win another 5. Yes, that's true. But it's not about getting there. It's about getting the diamond ring. It's about getting the gold at the end of the rainbow. And this team is not close. I've seen at the trade deadline that the very needs they have, whether you say it's a need or not, and you want to turn your head and say, we'll find ways to do it. This team lacked bullpen, middle relief, setup relief. They lacked it, and they did not go get the trades. When I looked at Houston going out and getting Greinke, going out and getting needs, I said, Houston knows. Houston knows what it takes. They've tasted the pie. They tasted the pie on the Dodgers watch. They beat the Dodgers in Game 7 in the Ravine. They are going for it again, and they're starting their series Game 1 with the Yankees tonight, which those two favorites in the American League, guess what? They're where they're supposed to be. But the Dodgers are not, and the Braves are not. Let's not let the Braves, the two teams that were not supposed to be in the National League Championship Series are there. But again, Kershaw, I'm going to end with this. Kershaw, Roberts, the whole the hitters that needed to come through in the clutch. This team did not come through in the clutch. Their batting average was low, and their batting average was low in situational hitting when you needed hits and you could win the game or take a huge lead and just about suffocate the other team. The Dodgers left life in the Nats, and the Nats grabbed that oxygen, and the Nats began to breathe, and they took advantage of every Dodger mistake, and they won the series. This is a Nats team. They just lost their best player, supposedly, Harper. He left in free agents, and now they go farther than they ever did with him. Baseball's a funny sport. It's just not one-man gang, man. It's definitely a team effort. But the Dodgers' lack of, like I said, managing expertise that Roberts did not do, he fell short. Why didn't you use analytics like you did in 162 in those last 3 innings? Why'd you go away from doing it? And to leave Joe Kelly on the mound, the bases loaded with no outs when he just set the table to blow it himself. And for Howie Kendrick took him deep, I was not surprised. It was the way that things were going through the series. When they lost Game 2, I knew this is not good. I said, I don't like the feel of this. I don't like the energy of this. It just feels like it just could be a trap, and it ended up being that. This is D-Boy from West Coast Uncensored talking Dodger baseball. And Kersh Kersh Kersh, all-time great in the regular season, but the word choke will always be associated with him. Hope he can one day get another chance to redeem himself, but he is not an ace anymore of this team. He's the third starter at best. He's lost his velocity. He's older, pitched a lot of innings. But the Dodgers do have a future. They're still willing to go. They're set. But with the young players, but still this organization to get over the hump. Those young players need those young studs. I say Seager, Bellinger, take that bull by the horns and be the man. And you weren't. Urias, it's time to step up and be starter. Take the kid gloves off Urias. Urias could be our left-handed stud. We got a young right-handed stud and Walker Buehler, and Urias needs to step up and be the left. Take the kid gloves off of him. Let him pitch. Give him that second place in that rotation and say, kid, every 5 days it's your job. Go do your stuff. You go be the best you can. You got so much talent. It's time the Dodgers organization to be looked at from top to bottom. Ownership to there. Why didn't you now go get the people we need at the deadline to improve ourselves to get over the hump? And it came back to bite us. This bullpen was half-tail. It did okay in the playoffs, but when it really counted in a Game 5, it did not produce. And sorry, but all I can say is, Kersh, Kersh, Kersh. You guys have a great day.